Welcome, everybody. Bienvenidos. This is Teresa Gonzalez with Latinas from the Block to the Boardroom. This is a very special podcast, and we are going to be talking to a very awesome organization called Bitwise Industries, located in Fresno, California. Today, my special guest is going to be the Vice President of Bitwise. Her name is Terry Solis. And today we're going to listen about how these Latinas, especially Terry and her team, put together not just Bitwise, but also a platform to help find jobs. So everybody sit down, take some notes, get those links, and see how you can help. So, Terry, thank you so much again for joining us. And what I want to talk about is the COVID-19 and what Bitwise has been doing in the Central Valley for community. You know, I met Irma and she is just an enigma in herself, but you are the right-hand man to that organization. And what I found out is on April 2nd, Governor Gavin Newsom mentioned that you guys had just put together a whole website called onward.org. And that was amazing to me in how these Latinas in tech just whipped that up. But I'm sure you worked with, I think it was over 100 other technology companies, including Salesforce being one of the main contributors. You just whipped that up and here you go. Let's do this. Tell me how Latinas are able to do that and let the whole world know that too.
Absolutely. So actually our site is onwardca.org here in California. Mm-hmm. It's onwardco in Colorado. And then we have Onward US. We're actually in 10 states right now. And I'm sure that's just going to continue to change, increment higher and higher as we go, because we intend to be in all states in a relatively short period of time. It really comes down to being aware of the need of our communities and actually having the heart of being not just aware, but having the ability to say, something needs to be done about this, and then actually putting the effort and time and funds that are necessary in order to put something like that together. And the Capers Center is a huge contributor to what it is that we're doing as well. They are an organization that really pays attention to our population of color and what our needs are. And they also put the money behind those solutions that need to be created. So it's one of those opportunities where you put these mindsets together and you end up building something that is going to be effective and be able to be used by our community members in the most positive way in order to reach the needs that they actually have. So when we're talking about individuals that have been displaced because of the pandemic, one thinks, the government is going to do something about that, or on the federal state, somebody's going to create something in order to handle that. But it really comes down to, and I really think this is the mindset of Bitwise, is that we need to create our solutions ourselves. Right. We need to be paying attention to the needs, but also be creating the solutions to those needs and then putting them out there into the community and making sure that people know that they exist. So for Onward CA, it's really paying attention to what is happening with these displaced workers. How are they going to get back into the workforce if all we're focusing on is, okay, somebody apply for unemployment insurance. What we really need to be doing, and this is a solution that Onward CA created, is that we took on the task of not just building a platform that people could use, a piece of software that people could use to get back into the workforce, but for the individual that is seeking employment, once again, to be able to utilize the skill sets they already have and transition those skill sets to another job. Right. It's very important to be able to do that. And it's also important for them to feel and be aware that it's not just one person that is out of a job. You're talking thousands, hundreds of thousands of individuals that are out of jobs, that they need a new way of looking at their skill set in order to get back into the workforce. And then for employers to intentionally be looking for these displaced workers. To be saying, I am looking for that person that was displaced to utilize their skill sets in any way I potentially can so that they are earning a paycheck. And then there's other resources on that same piece of software. And those resources include from funds that people are needing to keep PG&E on. It's for tracking where are the food sources that I may be able to tap into. There's quite a few resources on that platform that people could be using that, are for day-to-day needs and not just long-term planning, but just for today. What do I need today and where do I go find that?
Right. So that's onwardca.org. And I just want to back up a little bit here, Terry. So can you tell me here that, I know you started with Bitwise and they gave you the opportunity when you needed that support the most because you were the breadwinner in the family and that you also came from a farm working community. And you've helped a lot of students. But, when we talked about your journey into Bitwise, what was before that? Irma said, come on board. Here's where we need you to develop into a mentor, a leader for us and for students, because this is my ambition for the company, but it's also my goal to help women just like you and also other Latinos.
Yeah. I had made the decision when my husband went back home to Mexico on a voluntary departure. I made the decision to follow him with our very young twins and my older son. They were 2, 3, and he was right around 7 years old. And we moved to Mexico and we stayed there for 5 years. So at the end of those 5 years, I made the decision to come back home because we were not progressing on his immigration process. So I came home and I recall very clearly that for his immigration process, I had to fill out what is called a adjustment of status, a hardship petition for him to get a pardon to come for his immigration process. And I recall for that petition, you have to write a very hard petition sharing your most personal information and what hardships you would endure if the petition was not to be granted. And I was going through a really tough psychological period of time where I really felt an extreme amount of anxiety and depression and panic attacks. And I recall my sister as we were sitting at the table one day away from the kids, that I was having a panic attack and I was hyperventilating and I was crying a significant amount but my kids couldn't see me, but we were close to them, but they were engaged in their own things at the meal at the table. And I recall my sister, bless her heart, and she was doing it with the best of intentions because she has a heart of gold. And she says, now is not the time to fall apart. Your kids are expecting you to get them up and going. And you're the one that's here and you need to suck it up right now.
Oh man, I hate that term. Suck it up. It's like, man up. I've been told that a few times when I was in tech and I'm like, there's no crying. Don't cry. It's like, I hate you. Okay.
And at that moment, I really did feel like that. I really felt kind of like, Dios mío, give me a damn second, And it was like, there is no time. There's no second to be given. And within a matter of hours, days, Irma Jr. said, hey, here I am. I'm going to be opening this academy. And, you should look into it because there's going to be jobs.
Well, how did she come about? Did she just show up like, the good fairy, like Cinderella, like here she comes. The good fairy,
yes. Like Cinderella. She's a lot younger than me, but she was my fairy godmother at that moment. And so she just kind of like, hey, we're going to, I think we had gone out to a celebration dinner of some kind with everybody on another day. And it was very, very soon after, because I recall like in my head, I was still seething of being told to suck it up. But it was the best of intention. I mean, my sister really had the best of intentions at heart. And she's like, Irma Jr.'s like, we're going to have this academy and we're going to teach people how to write code and we're going to help people land employment. And all I kept hearing was yada, 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 jobs. She just kept talking and all I heard was jobs. So I signed up and I went to Centr and picked up a laptop a Windows 8 laptop that I didn't know how to use because it was different operating system from what I was used to. So I signed up and I showed up to class, and that's when I realized what it was that I was going to be learning. And I quickly realized, I really think I'm way in over my head. But like I told you, our instructor was so adamant that we could get this, we could learn this. And you really could. When your anxiety level isn't at a million points, you really can pay attention and be able to learn this relatively easy. And so I learned how to write HTML and CSS, and then I ended up learning JavaScript. But as I was taking classes, I really did pay attention to the other students in class because I saw them as my competition. And I really thought the quicker I could help these people go find a job somewhere else, the less competition I have here. And so that's what I did. I spent my time tutoring people. I would spend 10, 12-hour days in Bitwise Industries when we were still in Mural District in our really small space when we first started. And I would really focus a lot on helping others move on. I would talk to the tenants at Bitwise and try to get some of the students jobs and help people figure out professional development so they could actually apply properly to go work somewhere else. Because I was really intentional about getting rid of my competition. And I ended up working for Irma as an intern. And even though I was a student and I was tutoring and I was helping people land jobs, I didn't have a job. So when Irma hired me as her intern, it was a big deal to me. It was huge to me because at the time I was still using my sister's car to get to those classes that I couldn't actually afford. And I couldn't even afford the gas to put the gas in the car myself. And because we had lived in Mexico for so long, I was really, really hesitant to ask for financial support in any way. And so as I was taking these classes, I was living in my sister's renovated garage with my kids. By January, my husband came home to the U.S. on his visa. We had managed to get his visa process to go through for a permanent residency. And so he was here, and it really gave me the opportunity to spend a great deal of time at Bitwise Industries and to really show the value that I could contribute to a company that was just starting out. And my biggest thing about wanting to work for Bitwise always was that in my mind, and now I know that that's not the case, but at that time, in my mind, I really thought that people like me couldn't get jobs in the tech sector. Because when you look at the numbers, when you look at the statistics, somebody that's my age, my gender, and even my level of skill set, you're not going to get a job that is a good paying job in the technology industry anytime soon, or if ever. And if you do, it's likely to be an entry-level job that you're at for a long period of time. That was my mindset. And so the reason I was trying to eliminate my competition was that I really thought the sooner everybody had jobs, that I could really get a good shot at getting the job at Bitwise, because Bitwise was going to be, in my mind, had always been a company that was going to grow in large exponential levels really, really quickly. I don't know where or why I had that in my head, but I really did. And so to me, I felt that it was really important to land a job with Bitwise. So when Jake and Irma called me in a few months, I say a few months, but really it was closer to 18 months. It was really interesting to see that when they asked me to meet with them, the question to me was that if money was not an object, what position would I want? And I immediately asked to be the CEO of GeekWise Academy. I didn't ask to do anything else. Jake did state that job was filled at the time, and that's right, because it was his job that I was asking for. So nice. He set me straight real quickly. And so I didn't get that job, but they gave me the job and the title of Champion of Geeks.
Champion of Geeks. I love that.
It was my first position for Bitwise. And I absolutely loved that I had that opportunity because it gave me the chance to continue to advocate and promote the local tech talent, primarily of our GeekWise Academy students, and continue to provide the support that they were needing, not just for our students, but our local employers, and helping educate our local employers in understanding that the degree is not what you're trying to hire. You're trying to hire a skill set and somebody with the right culture that would be a good fit for your team. And so that's where I started. I started as the champion of geeks for Bitwise Industries in November 2014. I started classes in around August 2013. So roughly 16, 17 months after I started as a student, I became the champion of geeks for Bitwise. And all along, I really had this sense that Jake and Irma and Beth Millie, that their sincerity in building individuals was there. And it really helped me. And I share this all the time with others, that they groomed me to be the person that I am in the organization, and that it's my responsibility to turn back and do the same for others. And I'm very blessed to have had the opportunity to have done that for hundreds of our students that have moved on into this industry, into high wage paying jobs, and that they too are seeking to contribute to the success of others, and that they're doing it intentionally, that we really did pass on the torch to help others. And when you know that you're doing that, you can't help but get up in the morning and think that I'm going to go out and give it my all. And I'm blessed to be working on it with a team that has the same sense of commitment to the next person.
That's awesome. So you overcame your challenges. You were determined to see it through, that you were going to learn code and to be a part of Bitwise. So there was your motivation. And then the perseverance that you had throughout this whole time to lift others and to build community has also given not just the community the foothold and the foundation that they need, but it's also grown empathy for others to understand that we all can lift each other. And that's all by your leadership, in this. And that also comes from where you came from and your kids. Like I said, your kids are going to reap the rewards that you are leaving behind with this organization. Bitwise is more of a tech ecosystem, and this is coming from the website, that you guys are activating human potential to elevate underdog cities around the country. And let's be real and frank here, the Central Valley has the highest potential to elevate all people of color that are down in the Central Valley, and they are the hardest hit. And with Bitwise, there's an academy, which I believe you run, called GeekWise Academy. And I want to talk a little bit about that, because I think that's integrated into the onwardca.org website, of pulling all the resources together to put the coding and classes together. And is there a cost to getting these classes and learning new skills on the website? How do people sign up for that so that they can reinvent themselves and start looking for new jobs? Because people need a new skill set in this time of crisis. They need to up their game. And if it's free, or how do they sign up for these courses online? Is it integrated with GeekWise Academy from Bitwise? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so it's like the next level of skill set after one trains to acquire the skill sets of being able to write code for programming. So GeekWise Academy, I was at the beginning of the year still the director of GeekWise Academy. I've been promoted since then, but the intent of GeekWise Academy has always been to teach skill sets that have the lowest barrier to entry into the workforce in the technology industry. So that meant teaching people skill sets in HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So those are basic languages in programming that have the lowest barrier to entry into this workforce.
Wow.
And so for us, we have intentionally created specialized classes that actually recruit marginalized communities, people of color, formerly incarcerated, veterans, women in particular. We've run specialized courses multiple times just for women. And the objective with that is to assure that the average person, the marginalized communities, also have an opportunity to learn these skill sets and then actually put them into use in the workforce. So for us, what we have done is we've taught people the basic programming skill languages, and then there's opportunities within Bitwise organization to be part of what is called a paid internship, a cohort. We've never changed the name to anything other than a cohort. And so these individuals then actually build softwares within our organization, and Onward and Order Slip and Take Care. They are multiple initiatives that Bitwise has launched.
Awesome.
And are actually sharing with the community now. And the developers for those projects are actually GeekWise Academy students that went through our paid internships, and many of them are now actual employees of Bitwise.
Nice.
So as employees, they have the benefits that one would expect in the technology sector. And Bitwise has always uplifted individuals, but we do it differently from what people would expect. And the way we do it differently is that we actually grow our own talent. And by growing our own talent, we know just not only the skill sets that they have learned, but we also know them as individuals. We also know when life is happening around them. And so we intentionally support them as they're not just during the training period of time, but when there are interns, and then ultimately when there are employees as well. So it's that mindset of growing human potential and putting it into the workforce that makes us so different from any other organization out there in this industry. And that has been strategically done from the onset. GeekWise Academy started at the same time that Bitwise Industry started back in the summer, fall of 2013. So it's not an afterthought about creating and growing your own talent. This was an initiative that started right when the entire company started, and we have continued to grow that talent to where now we have GeekWise students that have not just gone through the training and cohorts and worked for Bitwise for a short period of time, but these individuals are now senior developers, solutions architects, they're project managers. They're going into different roles that are higher paid jobs, but these are individuals that you would find working at Ross, that were managers at Starbucks, that were working in warehouses, just like the marginalized communities that many times people are talking about, but they don't actually put a solution in place for them to move forward. And Bitwise did that from the inception. So that makes it very different. I am an actual product of Bitwise Industries, and now I'm the VP of the company. But that to me means that they don't just talk about it, and they don't just create a solution for our populations. They implement it, and then they support those individuals to move forward and move upward in the technology industry.
It speaks volumes to the community down in Fresno, especially downtown Fresno, which I believe Bitwise helped revitalize just with this whole opportunity to, you guys bought the building, you set up kind of a in-tech come in and learn space. There's a cafe there, and you do grow that, I want to say, creativity and innovation with everybody coming in and learning that new skill, and also connecting to see how they can support each other. And this is where you don't have to come from an elite school. You don't have to come from a big UC, because we come from these, marginalized communities. We don't have the funds, or we don't believe that we can get to that UC. But this is where Bitwise has created a net so that they can give you those opportunities. And tech is where it closes the wealth gap. It is higher paying jobs. It is where you can help companies grow and develop and be a part of the innovation. And this is where our community all need to learn some of these skill sets. And Bitwise, with you and GeekWise and how you set up these courses, and now onwardca.org, and how you've set up the Take Care initiative, which is also something that's very amazing, where you are delivering groceries out into the community through donations and the Central Valley Food Bank, from what I understand. So this is huge. This is huge and amazing. And I just want to commend you and Irma and everybody there. When I first saw this, and I actually have been there when you guys really cemented your partnership with Salesforce.com and really building that community out, that this is something that is going to really drive a lot of development down in Fresno as well. So I think that's
absolutely.
I think that's pretty amazing. So I want to hear just a quick, I know we talked about this briefly, but your journey was, and also from Irma, is that you both came from struggling communities and you didn't see yourself where you are today. What was that pivoting moment that said, I'm going to do this and I'm going to help build this organization and create jobs for everybody else? What was that?
I know that for myself, I really felt broken, destitute when I started taking classes at GeekWise Academy. So I'll take a quick step back to that. And it was the attitude and the charisma of Jake, Irma, and Beth that I felt really spoke to who they were as individuals as they were setting up GeekWise Academy. So I was one of the very first students of GeekWise Academy in the early fall of 2013. And I recall being in that classroom setting and really being aware that I didn't fit the stereotype of somebody going into the tech sector. I just knew that for me, through my lens at that time, that I didn't have an option for employment in the state of California where I would be earning the kind of income that is needed in order to sustain a family. So when I started my class, my biggest thing is that you don't have an option but to move forward. You are going to figure out how to make this work. And I was very blessed that the instructors that were working for GeekWise Academy then and to this day really had a heart about teaching people how to actually learn how to write code. It's not as hard initially as one would think. It's exceptionally easy, to be quite honest. But when you have the right people at the front of the class educating you and that are encouraging you and are directing you in the right direction right at the onset, you can tell, you can sense it. And I was very blessed at the very beginning. I recall my first instructor was drenched in sweat. He was so nervous, but he was just phenomenal about intentionally trying to get you to relax. He couldn't get himself to relax, but he was determined. He was going to get you to chill out so that you could learn.
Right.
And my next instructor, he was, I asked, hey, how am I doing? He's like, you're getting it. You're getting it. You need to tweak this, this, and this, and pointed out where I was having mistakes. And he said, you'll be just fine. It's like, okay. And I recall turning to Irma and to Jake and sending them emails about our students and letting them know, our students need this. Our students don't understand this. It was I don't know where I got the our or we concept because I was not employed by Bitwise at the time. But right at the onset, I started to refer to the students as our students and our instructors. And I think right at the very beginning, I got so comfortable that I just had it in my head that somewhere along the way, I was going to be an employee or part of the team at Bitwise Industries. But I really think it has so much to do with the sincerity of the executive team and everybody that they hired right at the very beginning. And since then, that the objective was to uplift people.
Yep.
The objective was intentional and then strategically put together where people really understood that you do belong here and that nobody else belongs here more than you. And that it's so ingrained in you as you're going through the space, whether you're just in one of our buildings, because we have 4 buildings in downtown Fresno.
It's totally amazing as well. Just the regeneration of what I've seen downtown. I mean, I grew up there on that side with my grandma and my family, and I used to walk around with her when it was the Fulton Mall. And to see it, go down and then now it's coming back up, it is absolutely phenomenal. So it's amazing. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're just
exciting.
It absolutely is. And, I listened to your laugh and it really brings to point for me that here I am. I've been around Bitwise Industries since late July, early August of 2013. And I still get that giddiness. I still get that sense of awe and gratitude and appreciation for being on a team that is just so phenomenal. And it's not just the executive team. It's the people that are being hired that have that same heart, that same ambition to uplift everybody else. And that's the piece that I cannot stress enough, why I think that we are successful. And I'm aware that we're being very successful in what we're doing. It takes an executive team that makes the strategic decisions and hires the people that are not only going to put it together, but they're going to continue to create the culture that the company needs in order for it to be successful. And I absolutely love that part. I still am so appreciative. I mean, I started off as a student, and as I was in the classes and getting to know other people, you just got the sense that everybody is feeling the same way. Everybody is feeling welcomed and appreciated, and that we're building a community. And so when people ask, why didn't some Latinas have the opportunity to put something so amazing together in a time of crisis, in a time when our nation is going through a pandemic, it really comes down to because the way the company was built, it was built on the intention of uplifting others. Mm-hmm. And now that the time of crisis has happened, everybody is aware of their role. Everybody is aware that we need to take this forward, and that we have the support and the means and in the skill set necessary in order to do what's necessary to build the platforms that are needed for not just our communities, but our nation as a whole. And I think that's the part that when you get up in the morning and you're aware of that, you can't help but get up and think, I'm doing the best that I can, but I'm doing it 150 times, because that's how many people are on our team. That's how many people on our team that are getting up today with the same intention.
And it's going to keep growing.
Absolutely.
It's going to keep growing. And I think it's amazing. The way I'm excited about it is that when I heard the governor talk about it, and there was the whole Bitwise group and what you're doing, I said, this is monumental. This is going to be one of those things that is going to be cemented in history, not just for, how California rallied together, but a lot of the community in the Central Valley, because that's really important. And that's what brings us all together, is that heart and community, because we have all struggled. And when we come from nothing and we have the opportunity to build something that's going to change the way we think and the way we work in this pandemic and bring forth and uplift people, like you're saying, it's going to be monumental. But not only that, it's going to be reflective down into families and communities of how people came together during this time. And that's what's going to be foundational, I think, as your legacy, Terry, and I commend you for that. I know that we're coming close here to time, but can you just tell us a couple of things where people can go to support onward.ca.org? I know you guys have just expanded out into a few areas, but also to the Take Care app. And I believe there was something else that you guys have also started, which is all on this website, correct?
So the URL has changed. So it's takecareapp.org.
Okay.
And there you could get help, you can donate, and you can volunteer. And so, again, can you imagine? I mean, I get floored all the time because I had not seen this site. I had seen the mock-ups of what it could potentially be, and seeing it and knowing that there was a graphic designer and a content writer and a developer and a project manager and, somebody that had to pay attention to the scalability of this site. And all these people just came together in the last, even 2 to 3 weeks for this site.
Wow.
And so at the rate that we grow, at the rate that we do things, it's just absolutely phenomenal. And I just appreciate that so much. And in knowing that so many of our GeekWise Academy students, individuals that come from marginalized communities, that honestly, they, like myself, like Irma, they didn't anticipate being in a space where their instincts and their intuitive skills will come into play in a space that most people don't see it as a thriving community. Yet here they are putting something so beautiful together in such a short period of time. I'm just in awe to work with people like this and and to know that these individuals were probably not going to have these opportunities either any closer than I was. And yet here they are, in the middle of all that is right now. And they're putting together something so phenomenal and so amazing, and that they too are working from home. Our entire team is working from home, and they have their kids in the background asking for lunch and spilling the milk and potty training their kids. And yet they're still doing this too.
Right. We're closing ranks here. You sound the alarm and close ranks, and that's what happens, and that's how things get done. It's almost like firefighters. That's how they've come together. They know there's a call to the community and to everyone, and I think that's what's amazing. And again, I feel, and this is my own personal opinion, because we have come from a lot of crises and trauma in our background, that when we come together to help somebody, that's when we close ranks and we say, si se puede, we got to get this done. And I just remember Irma putting a post out in LinkedIn. She's like, hey, everybody, I need like 100 people in software to help me put this thing together to change the world. I was like, oh my God. And then she responded and said, and I think this was part of it, the onwardca.org. I think the whole point for that was because she had a timeline that she had to hit. She got some money and she's like, let's do this. And then she responded and said, okay, everybody, more or less, cool your jets. I got 5,000 people that want to help and I only need 200. And that just shows you how many people came to her call, for your organization, and then how you worked on this with her. That's so amazing. That is just crazy. It's mind-blowing to me.
It is. And it's mind-blowing to me, and I work for the company. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Well, you are like, right there, like helping, coordinating and working with her. And, you've been promoted to the vice president of the organization. There's, 4 organizations throughout California. You've done this, and now there's 3 that you've opened with the onward.org, but the Onward CA, and then I believe there's Colorado, and there's another one. If everybody wants to find information on bitwiseindustries.com, that is the website. And this is where the Latino community has really built and come together and building transformation in technology to bring communities access into technology, but not only that, but to help the entire U.S. to find jobs, which is mind-blowing in and of itself. I just want to say that Gentefied is on my list of Netflix. I know you've seen it, but I'm finishing it and I love it. And I just want everybody out there to support more Latino media, Latinx media. We need to be in the forefront also of not just, coding. And we need to build all those levels of digital media and also tech. So, Terry, I want to thank you for being on my show, Latinas from the Block to the Boardroom. I hope we can continue this conversation again, hear more exciting results from the website and the post-COVID-19 in how the platform has helped the jobs that people are looking for, and to partner people together with the employers that are looking for the skill sets that Bitwise is creating for employers that are hiring. So with that, thank you so much. And Terry, did you want to say anything before we leave?
I do. I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to share what it is that Bitwise is doing. And I also want to give a huge shout out to my sister. I always share how she told me to suck it up, but I really appreciate her for having done that. I think she really contributed to why it is that I have been able to do what I do for a living now, because she didn't allow me to fall back and get comfortable. It was like, you got to move along. So I really, really appreciate her and love her like no other. And so I really appreciate that she gave me that opportunity to stand up and pull myself up and not fall backwards. And so I really always thank her for that. And thank you for having this platform, because we do need to share with the rest of our community and hopefully inspire others to see the positive when somebody's telling you suck it up, that they too may be saying, I know you have it in you. I know that you have what it takes. I believe in you, and I'm going to love and support you as you move forward. And that's what really was being said at that moment. At least that's what I choose to believe is what was being said. And thank you so much.
You're welcome. Sometimes we just need that person that mirrors what we don't see in ourselves, but they see it in us. And then that reflection becomes something that motivates us to move forward. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Terry. I really appreciate you and Bitwise. I'm giving you big air hugs here.
Absolutely.
From the Bay Area. And hopefully, I hope to see you soon down in Fresno because my family's there and I miss them and I'd love to see them soon as well. So hopefully we can grab coffee. Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.